The MixBus is a large format audio recording and broadcast truck. This one has been specifically designed for live to cinema events. This is a long evolution of several OB trucks that I built over the years, all audio specific. Right from when I was at the BBC in the 80s and 90s and ran one of their mobile recording trucks, SCV6 it was called then, Stereo Control Vehicle 6, which was a 28-ton vehicle with two Studio A80 24-track machines on and an SSL 4000. As I got older, the gears started getting smaller, more capable, and more sophisticated. This particular truck is 7.5 tons, and it has huge capabilities. We use MADI with this, so you can obviously 64 audio channels on each MADI, and we can handle maybe 500 or 600 inputs on this. Certainly, we did a Later with Jules special 25th anniversary, I think, which had 540 inputs on it, and that was handled relatively straightforwardly. What really inspired me to build a MixBus and its sister truck, the Aux Bus, which is a smaller version of this, is wanting to be at the leading edge of everything that's good about modern pro audio and be at the cutting edge of the latest developments and produce sound that is as good as we can possibly produce. What we do, a lot of the live to cinema stuff involves control of perspective and dynamics. And in order to do that, we radio mic actors, we tend to radio mic actors normally in the hair, so hidden, normally around here or there, or in the clothing, somewhere around here. So they have to be hidden. But the camera shots obviously can be very, very tight, very close, or they could be massive wide shots with someone in the distance. So we need to be able to control the perspective with a mic that is absolutely fixed to the person's head. So the way we started doing that is we, at the beginning, we used to use float mics and put ambient mics in everywhere and use those. Didn't work massively well because if you had a very loud actor next to a very quiet actor, the loud actor would sound like they were in another room and the quiet actor would sound like they were very, very tight. So we then moved on to float mics and this, that, and the other, which was great for foot noise. You know, people are shuffling around the stage. You get a lot of that kind of thing. So we then decided to go into the realms of artificial reverb as much as it is not real, and I wanted to capture everything that is real. We kind of had to kind of bite the bullet and go for artificial reverb, and we started with an impulse response. So we used to use Logic, an impulse response utility, and go into each venue. So we'd actually go into a theatre, really annoy the camera people who were setting up by asking them to be quiet, and do an impulse response, and then we would use that as the reverb, which we then add into the show. Um, which again, it didn't work massively well, mainly because the auditorium which we were doing the impulse response reverb of was always empty. So it all sounded like you had a full auditorium, and then the reverb of the on the speaker's voice was of a different acoustic, a different venue. So that led us to the TC System 6000, the Lexicon PCM 96 surround, basically every major reverb, including we've got an old PCM 960 or Lexicon 960 at the back there. Every reverb we tried out, and all of them were in varying levels okay, but nothing great. And it's amazing how sophisticated your ear is in just hearing a tiny bit of it. You know, it is really a tiny bit of a kind of ambience around the mic to make it sound like it's not radio mic. It's, you know, sound like it's a 416 or a gun mic in the classic film position, sort of 2 feet away. You know. Anyway, we were kind of despairing, and then my colleague Chris Kalkov said that he was using Bricasti and Seventh Heaven as his reverb of choice. He does a lot of classical stuff, which is he's very, very particular about what he uses. And I thought I'd give it a go. And first of all, we bought a hardware unit, which is in the rack here. And the difference for us, it was a revelation of an idealized version. It's basically the reverb we were looking for in our heads. So while it's not a real and it's not impulse response, it's the ideal thing that we wanted, which just seemed to bed in. It just seemed to be become part of the picture rather than something that we were painting on over it, you know. And with that came Seventh Heaven, and the way Seventh Heaven, for a start, is so close to the hardware reverb that we can use them almost interchangeably. I don't understand how it manages to embed itself in the signal so well. It is just amazing. It just fits, for what we're doing. I know it's not. I mean, there are stylized reverbs like the Lexicons, particularly, which are good for pop music, particularly. But this seems to be a good fit for pretty much everything we do. And because we'll do concerts, we do festivals one week, and then we do classical opera another week, and then we come and do quite a lot of this NT Live stuff or other live to cinema events. We did the Kenneth Branagh season as well a couple of years ago, which was very good. But the reverb just seems to fit everything. There is a setting there which everyone finds useful. For us, this is the culmination, really the Bricacity and actually Seventh Heaven, the software emulation of it, is a culmination of 12 years of work, of 12 years of looking for the right reverb. And we use it in a very specific way, and particularly on location, running a plugin is so much easier in terms of hardware and weight and all that kind of stuff, but also it's automatable. And this is what we do here. We're actually running Seventh Heaven as part of a main stage setup, and all the speech goes into main stage. We have a MIDI fader on the desk behind here. We use it to control the reverb, direct balance, the pre-delay time, the amount of high frequency and low frequency roll off, all with one fader. So we have a near, and then the last 10 dB is a proximity effect. So we actually wind in a huge amount of bottom end to simulate a microphone that's really, I no, I won't bend down and try it out. For cinematic rooms, again, one of the problems with doing live to cinema is a lot of the effects we get coming into the truck are effective speaker feeds, all the QLab outputs from the QLab sound effects playing machine. So we could get 64 tracks of sound effects, which are all dry. And the idea is that the way they work in the theatre is they play the sound effect into a speaker, like you want the sound of a baby crying. You would have a speaker underneath the crib, and the dry sound would come out of the speaker underneath the crib, and the people in the audience would hear it as if it was an actual baby. Because we're getting those sounds at source, we need to stick them into a reverb device or a virtual room to simulate that kind of effect. And with cinematic rooms, we've only got it recently, and there are so many different presets on it. We're still going through them, but there seem to be an almost infinite number of ways of achieving something that is satisfying. Software versions of things, particularly like reverbs, are a great liberator, really. The reason we've got this truck and we've got so many faders is mainly for live sound work. You could do what we do on the laptop if you had enough time to do it. What we do is we rehearse. We need a fader per channel, and here there are 6 different layers, so we've got access to 200 odd faders, which you really need on a live show. The beauty of having software and recording systems like Nuendo is we can take away what we're doing and we can simulate. If we need to do post-production, we don't need to use the truck, because a lot of the software on the truck we can then pull off onto a computer. It's very much easier now to tidy things up and to make them better relatively straightforwardly without needing to plug into lots of different hardware systems or try and level match things that were recorded before. So I do love software. I love being able to record something on a truck like this that's, £500,000 worth of stuff, and then edit it on a train on a laptop as if I was here with AirPods or something. It's amazingly liberating, and I get really excited about the creative possibilities of just being able to refine things.